welcome to this edition of Rugby Unfiltered. I'm your host, Jan de Koning, and with me, Lofi Elof. Eugene, welcome.
Hi, Jan. Thank you very much. And we are privileged to have a guest here with us today, and a very good friend of mine, and Wynand Moorman, who's also a very well qualified rugby coach. And I had the privilege of meeting Wynand in my early years at the Lions. And the one thing that I could always say about him is that he understood kids, he understood the surroundings of schools rugby, and he had the empathy for players that a lot of coaches don't have. So I think for our discussions we're going to have Wynand, we could not speak to a better. He's known as BS.
No, thank you very much, Lofi. It's a privilege to be on the program as well. And thank you for the kind words. But if you love rugby, it's in your blood, it's in your veins. But I've learned a lot from you as well. They're working with you at the Lions Rugby Union. Also as under-19 coach there at RU. You were quite a mentor for me as well. And while I was coaching as well, I learned a lot from you. Thank you very much.
Wynand, just for clarity, I mean, most people will know you, but for those 2 or 3 guys that don't know you, you're obviously at Monash, and you've also got a very esteemed Springbok with you. That's the head of rugby at Monash, Jannie du Plessis.
That's correct, yeah. I'm part of recruitment and marketing of Monash Rugby at Monash. It's my second stint. So from 2019 up till now, and then after I worked at the Lions, 2010 and 2012, I was the head of rugby at Monash, and then I went to Walvis Bay. And then, yeah, my life turned around in Pretoria. I'm back at Monash, where I'm very, very happy.
Wynand, Lofi, I think we all know that there's a great commotion out there around an incident this past weekend between Menlo Park and E.G. Jansen. And there's on our channel, there's extensive videos of the incident of fighting. But I think, Lofi, you've been involved and Wynand been involved in schools rugby. And while this is a big event and it needs to be discussed, is this as common as it sounds? Is there a problem in South African rugby that we're going over the top with our schools rugby?
Yeah, I think Wynand is the right guy to answer that. I think there's a perception that things are going pear-shaped at rugby. It is so. There are incidents that happen, and it seems that certain of these incidents happen at certain schools. But there's much more. It's not just the fight that we've seen. There's a lot more behind the scenes, which I will elaborate on later. But I think Wynand is the right guy, being in the system now, that can tell us about the pressures at the schools and so on.
Professional. I think that schools rugby also turn professional, and the competition to get the best players. Have a look at the primary school screening. How many scouts are there from the different schools? So to win at all costs is very, very important for a lot of the schools. I think that pressure amounts to a lot of pressure on the parents as well, and to produce and to win. You know, with the professional rugby players also coming into the rugby schools as coaches. It's also something different than in the past, you know. So, yeah, the pressure is building. Parents are flippant. They want to win at all costs. And also the buying of players from the different schools, you know, that's also part of the system.
Wynand, I want to ask you, I mean, we all know Monument's one of the top schools in the country. I mean, do you guys have incidents like this, and we know what happened? So I think just for context, there was an old boys gazebo right on the dead ball line, right behind the E.G. Jansen post. Now, to me, that doesn't seem normal. What is guys sitting on the dead ball line behind the visiting school's post? I mean, is that normal behavior at schools? Should that not be one of the things we should look at?
At Monash, Jan, we've got a clubhouse where the old boys are sitting. There's no one allowed behind the post, only spectators. They can't come as a group and shout at the players or when they're behind the posts. So I think also it's a management of the parents and the spectators during rugby matches, especially when it's a big derby or a North SDC Cup. So it must not be allowed no, the guys, maybe some of them went and have a couple of beers and came back and stood there just before the first team. So that will lead to confrontation. And it's emotional if you stand behind the poles and they score a try against you and you try to concentrate and the people shout at you and make remarks and so on. Yeah, no, pressure is immense there. So I don't think it's the right place for any spectator. That's why they must sit on the pavilion and watch the rugby from there.
Yeah, and I think we can all admit, Loffie as well, testosterone and alcohol doesn't mix. That's a good recipe for disaster.
No, no, the liquor and the passion of the spectators doesn't go along. So just one of those things that I think that the schools and the management of the schools must be very, very strict on that, demarcation areas where the different schools must sit and the parents must sit and, loudspeakers to say exactly what's happening and so on. But yeah, no, it is also parents, as I said, that is putting the pressure on the boys.
Yeah.
Jan, if I have it right, though, there are some schools that don't allow any alcohol on the premises because of these sort of incidents that happened. And I think you've basically summed it up so well. A lot of emotions. It's a build-up. There's a derby. It's a year-long emotional build-up. And at this stage, there's a lot of accusations being made, both sides. This one did that, that one did that. No one will ever know. But that's a pressure, then emotions, and then the pressure to win. And that's what Wynand also said. It becomes a massive thing. And the disappointment, if things don't go your way, if you're not happy with the ref, you're not happy with decisions. And even here at our derby we had this week, and we can talk about it later, the children were making remarks from the side as part of the game. But parents getting involved, well, then, of course, alcohol is a no-no. And that's usually when you lose some of your inhibitions, when your emotions take over. And you need one small incident to spark it. You know how it is. It's if the one dog goes, the rest follows, and then there's chaos. And unfortunately, those incidents on social media has given rugby at schools level, that's for rugby, a bad taste in the mouth. But Jan, it's an isolated incident. So one should not.
Yes.
We should look at it holistically and objectively.
That's what I'm going to ask. And I know there are, like you said, Loffie, there are isolated incidents like this. And this one's probably obviously catching a lot of flack and it's big in the media because of what happened in social media. But generally, Wynand, schools derbies, I mean, Monash played against the top schools in the country, and there is rivalry and there is probably chirping, but how often does it really spill over that you know of or that you've experienced that has really spill over into a mass brawl like this?
No, that's for the first time, but I know the management and the coaches of EG Jansen and also from Menlo Park, and they are proper rugby coaches and the headmasters of both the schools and the governing bodies. So I think that when you're playing at EG Jansen or you play at Menlo Park, they will have all the rules and regulations in order. But once again, there is passion, but rugby is just building your character, and that type of thing. But liquor does cause a lot of problems. But this will also be an example for the whole country to say, listen, when we are playing a big derby, keep the emotions low, not to win at all costs, and that's the most important thing. But also to say, listen, if we lose with honor, and that type of thing. But also in the school's rugby program, I think that the head of rugby must run those things through the pupils as well. And also have a parents' evening to say, this is the way that we behave. On our programs at Monash, at the back of a program, there's a great our rules and regulations for the parents and the spectators to follow.
Yeah.
Jan, maybe I can come in here, and Wynand actually reminded me, said a very important thing. A few years ago, I wrote a code of conduct for a school here in the Western Cape, and they had problems with parents. but what they didn't do, they didn't give the parents a platform where they could also voice what they would like or not like and so on. And that's why you need to open up that forum and then within that, decide how you're going to manage it. So what I wrote, because this is pretty wild, the school, and I cannot name the school, it was not in Paul, by the way, what the parents did, they would run on the field, they would assault the referee, and it was really wild. And I wrote the conduct so that if they were slurring and swearing from the side, which was a misconduct, they would have to pay R100 fine, which was a lot of money at that time. And it goes into a kitty of the team, and at the end of the year, they have a braai. If it was serious matter, he would get a red card, which is R500. If it was really like assault or fighting, he would be banned for 3 matches. And within a year and a season, it became a joke. So the moment, everybody bought into that. And that's all. And then you have to, it's easy to have the rules, but sometimes to execute and manage these rules. I mean, if there's 5, 6 guys coming in intoxicated, you're not going to stop them. The security's not going to stop them. They've already made up their mind what they're going to do. But again, I'm glad also Wynand made the remark about the coaches and the headmasters, because I know them personally as well. They are good people. They cannot stand up. And if you go look at both schools, they're not saying they were right or wrong. They said they're waiting for the investigation to finish. So let's not just crack down. And look, Iggy Jansen, if you go play there, Wynand will tell you, it's tough. Those boys are as hard as can be, and it's a physical game. And they've also produced a lot of great rugby players as well. And so, when you go there, you're in for a game, but it's rugby and it's tough. So, yeah, I feel for the guys on the receiving end and now saying, there are people, it's very easy to say, listen, ban the school, ban this. And who's gonna win? Nobody.
Yeah, so that code of conduct must come through years and years. Like Monos is turning 105 next year, and the code of conduct were there for a very, very long time. So it's passed on from one generation to another generation for rugby players as well. But yeah, it was very, very bad on Saturday. And as I said, all the coaches of both teams, Melo and Egie, they are top guys, and the headmasters as well. But yeah, rules and regulations must be put in place now. I think this is going to be an example for the rest of the country, what is going to happen with those 2 schools and what's going to happen especially in the SDC Noordval Cup here. How are they going to handle it? The organizations as well, the school organizations and the provinces also.
Thank you, Wynand. I think maybe that's the right note to go over to something a lot more positive, Eugene. I mean, you were obviously the whole week last week, you were at the Boys High Gym derby, and I'll ask Wynand just now to talk about their best derbies or their biggest derbies. But talk to us, Lofi, about the week in Paarl last week.
Yeah, maybe just end off on one thing regarding our previous discussions. I think the people sitting around the table also should not make emotional decisions now and wait for the facts and just work on that. Okay, let's talk about the derby. As you can see, I've got my Gimmies shirt on. I am affiliated to Gimmies. But every year in this town, for a week, it stands still, but it's a build-up. And you have the blue school and the green school. And yeah, last year, against all odds, the blue school beat the green school. And it hurts, in this little town. The people braai together, but they don't talk about it. And the week in the derby time, they don't braai together. The only time they talk again is after the game. But I'll tell you one thing now, there was about 22,000 people there at the match, on the main match. But throughout the whole week, it was attended like at this ENF teams, 2,000 people next to the field at Brug Street. That was really well organized by Boys Eye. And the main game was at Fora, the 4 matches. And you know what I saw there, Wynand, and you'll appreciate it. I saw friends of both schools walking to the field, like hugging each other and talking to each other. And when they get to the gate, they split to their 2 sides. The bands were playing. When the one band of Gimmy plays a song, the Boys Eye band plays the same song, but they try and play it better. So it's just a big rivalry, and you could see also it was not an easy match. Boys, I was in the match for a long time, yeah. And straight after the match, you could see the sportsmanship, and I think that's also something Wynand talked about. we need that sportsmanship. It's only a game that afterwards you walk to your opponent. Nobody likes losing, but shaking hands, and maybe in your heart and your head you think next year I'll get you again. But on this day, and you can actually, it's a great, great gift if you can give somebody credit for something they did well, whether it's a coach, management, a player. Yeah, so it was a big week, and everything's back to normal in the Paarl. I've got very good friends that abused me. They were Boys Eye supporters. Reinhard knows them, and I said I'm going to abuse them for 3 months, but I decided I'm not that person. I'm not going to do it. It's just a game, and it's a fantastic game where young kids can live out their dream.
Yeah, Loffie, that gracious in defeat, humble in victory. That is the most important thing. It's going to happen. It's part of life. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But it built your character as well when you win or lose and how you handle it. But yeah, no, what a great one. Here in Monash, it is in Krugersdorp, it's Monash and Noordheuwel. So they are a very young school as well, Noordheuwel, but they are doing well. I think they are close to 60 years and we're 105. But if we play against each other, we are like the Paarl derby is an example for us. Also, we're doing with all the sporting codes now for the first time. But yeah, 12,000 people to 10,000 people turned up. And yeah, it's also cutting down that animosity between the schools, and it's all about recruitment as well. But afterwards, great social together, and no fighting and respect for each other, man. I think that's the most important thing. It's respect for each other's culture, school, and so forth.
But I want to ask you, I mean, it's another part of a discussion we've had. Now, we enjoy these derbies. You guys got the in Gauteng and Paarl, they got, and this week again, we've got a little Paarl derby, Klein Nederburg and New Orleans,
Yeah.
two schools, and they also draw 10,000 spectators.
Massive, yeah.
Yeah, so schools rugby in South Africa in general, and you mentioned right at the outset, it's become professional. But is it a good thing? Is our schools rugby on the right track, or have we taken, or are we taking it a bit too far? Should we put the brakes on, or are we on the right track and as a breeding ground for the national team?
As a breeding ground for a national team, I think that the derbies are excellent. Competition in the northern part of the country, the Noordval Cup, it's exactly the same as the World Cup. So you can't lose, and you must fight for it, and the whole school participates from the A to the C team. But that is part of to get used to play in the World Cup, I think, if you play for a competition. But, with Rossi on top and the Springboks in such a way, it must be, I don't know, we must be the strongest rugby nation now currently, from primary school right up, all different to all populations in South Africa.
Jan, if I can also just add on to what Wynand said, I think it's not professional, but the approach is professional. Professional rugby players, that's all they do. They come in, they train, they stay, they play rugby. But the approach the schools have got is much more professional. And if you don't have that approach, you're going to fall behind. It's very easy to say, yeah, but they're buying and they this and that. Then you must also do it. But I think the reason why we are the Junior World Cups, and the reason why South African rugby currently is so healthy, is because of that. Yes, and some people might say that winning things becoming too big. The approach is professional. There's nothing wrong having a professional approach. That's having good coaches, having systems in place, but still, it is a school. There's still an educational process also happening. And a lot of these coaches use the tool of rugby to educate these kids, to teach them how to manage, how to handle conflict, how to exalt their leadership, and so on. So, yeah, the approach is professional, but the game itself is not professional at school.
Yeah.
Just have a look at all the professional players becoming head of rugby programs at schools as well. So the influence that they have also is quite big, and the way that the boys are playing rugby, I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think they must just get used to the culture of the school rugby, But they do definitely give a big advantage to the school where they're involved with.
I agree, Jan. Jan, I know you want to finish, but this is a very important point. Is Wynand's talking about now. I think also what we must watch out for is the tendency to overcoach and over structure schools rugby, because that's where they develop to play from broken play and play what's in front of them, and that comes with professional rugby. So there's a lot of pros and cons.
Wynand, Loffie, we got about 5 minutes left, but I want to ask you guys one more question, and we don't have to go too long about this, but there is a concern for me personally, and I know it's not rough. I mean, again, it's isolated incidents, but unfortunately, there's been 2 very recent incidents of schoolboys getting tested positive for illegal substances. Is there a problem? Is this part of the issue that players want so badly to do well that they aren't being educated, for the lack of a better word, they aren't being educated at the dangers of substances or substance abuse?
I think Loffie must first go, and then I'll just add on to him.
That's a good answer, Wynnie. You're throwing me into the bus. You know, everything we spoke about today, the pressure of performing, you hear things like you're too small, and you go into a gym where guys are really ripped and look good, and the guy says, listen, this is legal stuff and so on. Everybody's influenced by that. So, yeah, it's a very difficult thing to answer. I think it's just not controlled well. And I guess that's a discussion we should have with Dr. Peer and them, because it's becoming more and more a problem, because the kids are more and more tested. It's not the schools. A lot of times, it's not schools that say, listen, you must go inject yourself with this or use that. It's guys individually or parents individually saying, listen, this guy at the gym said this works and this works. So, yeah, it's not controlled. It's not the schools.
Yeah, so the other thing is just, you don't have any, they can go to a local gym, as you said, Loffie, and they will get some stuff there, and they also, they're young and they listen to all the guys with big muscles and so on. And, also the negative thing is just they would like to perform and to get the contracts and to be known as a well-known rugby, become a Springbok. So, yeah, the ethics is very, very important, where they go and what they get from whom.
Guys, thank you very much, Wynand. I really appreciate it. We definitely have you on again. It's great to have insightful people like yourself. And Loffie, baie dankie.
Dankie
julle. Ek wil net Jan.
Yes.
Daar vir julle sê Dok Janie sou graag hier wil gewees het, maar hy's nou besig. Ek sien die man sit nou skouers en knieë seker iewers in, maar baie dankie vir die voorreg julle.
Ja.
Dankie.
Ek dink hy en sy vrou albei praktyke daarso in Kreeusdorp, is dit nie?
Ja, nee, wat Janie nou gedoen het, hy en Reinhard Gerber. Kyk, Reinhard Gerber is ons rugby hoof. Ek dink Loffie het hom ook afgerig, en Dok Janie is ons hoof van afrigting. So dit is hoe dit maar werk. Ek dink by klomp van die skole werk dit so, die topskole werk dit so, laat dit daai struktuur het. Ja nee, maar dit is lekker. Julle, dit is baie lekker. Dankie Jan, jy's 'n legende natuurlik. Ek bedoel, ek 31 jaar.
Die check is nie mail. Ek gebruik die poskantoor nog.
Ja, dankie Jan, hoor.
Okay, Wynnie.
Kyk, dankie Lof. Dankie julle. Lekker dag. Bye bye.
Lekker dag.